What do you do when the worst thing is happening, your mom is dying, and your boss wants you to work as if everything's okay? That's one of the questions we're going to tackle today in Caregiver Support Live. Hey everyone, I'm Denise Brown and I'm joined by my co host, Jennifer Ritchie. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Denise.
We meet once a month to tackle caregiving conundrums, and then we offer insights and suggestions that we hope are helpful. Today, we're going to talk out two questions. Sometimes our questions come from our viewers or listeners, and sometimes the questions come from what I see on the vast array of the internet. So, the two questions that we're tackling today are actually from a column in the New York Times that is the ethicist. I thought that was interesting that both of these questions were from the ethicist. One of the reasons it's fun for us to do this is because we have these insights into the caregiving situation, just like you do. And I think those insights add another depth to the suggestions that we can offer. Okay, here we go. Here's the first question. I have taught at the same community college for over 30 years. In October, my mother became seriously ill and died the next month. During her illness, my new boss asked me to meet with her about year-end paperwork. I declined the meeting. She requested it at the last minute, and my mother was being evaluated for hospice care that day. The next day, my boss sent me an email about 3 other meetings I had declined. I responded that I was stepping away from meetings during my mother's illness. But my boss doubled down. She told me she held everyone to the same standards to, and this is in quotes, ensure that contractual obligations were being fulfilled. After my mother died, I told my boss in person how disappointed I was in her lack of empathy. She replied that all employees must meet their obligations. At this point, I can't even look at her. Any suggestions? What do you think?
I think this happens more often than we know. Um, so it sounds like this is someone who has a long tenure in her job, but has a very new boss. And so they don't have that relationship that we would hope we have with all of our bosses. And so I always like to see it from both sides. And so this new boss coming in is probably very concerned about her own expectations of her job, and I'm assuming it's a woman. Um, and oh yeah, it is. And she is, the employees need to meet their obligations because I need to meet my obligations, and I'm responsible for all of these people. Um, and not knowing how the organizational setup is here, there is normally a human resources department that if you're in that situation, you can go to and let them know that this is going on. And there are things like intermittent family leave where you can be off, not like for a long period of time, but just like for appointments, things like that. Or you can take a family leave. And and in some states that's paid. Um, and they give you a little more concession during this time. So it sounds like she did not do that, and she may not have had that option. Uh, so at this point, I can't even look at her. Any suggestions? That is the tough part for me because now she has to deal with this woman who doesn't seem to be interested in making it right, you know. And I think her concerns and her feelings of not feeling heard, um, grief, I mean, through all of it, are completely valid. And So that's my initial thoughts are that. How about you?
Okay, so thank you for putting that emphasis on I can't even look at her any longer. What do I do now? And I
Hmm.
think that's important for me to remember because she's not she's not asking for suggestions around what could I have done differently or
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And we can talk about what she could have done differently once we get through. I can't even look at her. Any suggestions? And I think we've all been in situations where someone has seemed so insensitive and unkind and uncaring that we think, I can't look at her because I feel so much anger
Hmm.
about how she treated me. And you think, this is how she treated me during one of the worst times of my life. What a horrible person. And you have to work with them. So she can't weed her friendship garden and decide, oh, this is a friend I'm going to walk away from. This is someone she has to continue to interact with. Okay. So thank you for reminding me that's the point of the question. How does she move forward in relationship with this boss who really just became the iron fist
Yeah.
when she really needed a caring heart? Okay, so how does she move forward? So I'm trying to think of like when have I had the maturity to move? And that is a big if. Had the maturity to move forward in relationship with someone I had to work with. And I thought, oh my heavens, the unkindness. Actually, interestingly enough, I did have a situation just yesterday
Oh,
where someone I collaborate with got really, really angry with me. And she got angry with me in front of someone we were working with.
mm,
And it took me by surprise. It seemed a little bit of an overreaction. The witness was able to move out of the interaction. So then the interaction continued, but it was me just saying, what would you like me to do differently? And she actually removed herself for a few minutes, went into another room. I mean, she was furious with me, like furious with me. Like I can't even begin
oh
to
no.
explain. I know. Came back in, said I need to write down some things, started writing down some things. And so I just gave her space because I wasn't sure what else to do. Now I have a relationship with her that has to continue.
Yeah.
So yeah, what am I doing about that? Well, I guess I'm just moving forward. And I think it sounds like, oh, really? We're just going to move forward. But you know what? I think sometimes what's easiest to do is just move forward and to say, ah, I have some insights into this boss. I understand how she works now.
Hmm.
And that's good information for me to know because there could be another family emergency that happens in the future, and she's going to be my boss. So you have some
Yeah.
insights into who she is. And I do think sometimes our only recourse is to just keep moving forward. Take care of yourself outside of that relationship, outside of that situation. Understand that you've been given good information about this individual that will be helpful for you because other situations will arise, and then just keep moving forward.
Yeah. Funny you bring up maturity because,
Right? I know because it's not a given. It's not a given.
well, when emotions are involved, you can't rely on your, I don't know what the word is, but so what I have done in the past in these situations is if I don't know a lot about this person, she's a new boss, she seems to be very much all business and doesn't want to even discuss. I sort of like to create a story about them in my head that makes me feel better. Like this is a woman who maybe has never lost a parent and who has never been in this situation before and has no idea the emotional toll it takes. Or this is a someone who didn't have a relationship with her mom and so she doesn't get it. I mean, she doesn't get it in some way, or she's choosing not to. Um, and she has this new job and no, you have to meet your obligations. And having been a manager and having employees who had personal things, there are certain things that we can do and there's certain things we can't. And employees often don't see our side too. In moving forward, I think she may want to try having one more conversation. Look, I told you I was disappointed. I understand I have obligations. I want to move forward with this. And if something happens in the future with another emergency, how would you like me to handle it differently? Something like that.
Yes, I think that too. Yes.
Yeah,
And it could be a conversation that doesn't happen for another month.
absolutely.
It is not an immediate need.
Yeah.
You can settle into this was a terrible situation that happened to me at work, and then give yourself time to say, huh,
Mhm.
I wonder if it would be helpful to have a conversation just to learn what is the boss's expectations if it happens again. And then I think the other thing is, what are my options if it happens again? And
Yeah.
really researching what are the benefits that are available and how are
Mhm.
they appropriate to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to be caught not using the benefits that are available to help you. And then you have a situation where the boss and you are just in conflict because there's miscommunication, there's misunderstanding, and there's a boss maybe that's not well informed.
Well, the one thing I wonder is this sentence, ensure that contractual obligations are being fulfilled. I'm wondering if this person was a contractor and who doesn't have access to benefits. I'm not completely assured that that's the case, but the employee employer relationship might be different where she doesn't have access to like an employee assistance plan or an HR team that would help her because it's different. um so I wonder if that's the case, but yeah, there have got to be ways to handle this that's better and still allow her to fulfill her obligations, and maybe she gets an extra week. Maybe there are very few things that can't be worked with. I mean, when we really think about it.
And I think your insight is interesting about what is the pressure on the manager.
Hmm.
So we think, oh, paperwork for year end. How important is that? We don't know how important that is to the manager's manager and what
Yeah.
pressure she's under to get the paperwork completed.
It
And in
could be
truth,
funding or something,
right,
like,
yes, right. It could be related to we've got to get more money for the community college. We're submitting grant
yeah.
proposals. We need this paperwork done. Right. We don't know. And the hard part about this is the business must continue. And in order for the business to continue, it's employees doing their work. And the manager might have internally freaked out about what if this employee just can't do her work? I'm
Mm.
new here. I'm new to this job. What does that do for me? What does that mean for me? Which is how you started
That's a
off your,
great point.
yeah.
I didn't even think of that. Like, oh, how am I going to cover this if
Right.
she's gone,
Right. Yeah. What am I going to do? And we
Yeah.
all know that in a panic, we don't respond or act well.
Yeah.
So the manager might have been in a little bit of a panic, which is why she was so adamant
Mhm.
that you've got to get this stuff done.
Yeah.
So yesterday, after this happened to me, I did connect to one of our certified caregiving consultants in training. We were talking out a pro bono client that she's going to start to help. And I was just like, I'm sorry, but I'm a little frazzled because something just happened and I'm not quite sure what to think about this. And so what I figured out, what I landed on to help me yesterday was, okay, I see something that happened and I just want to make sure that's not something I do.
Mm,
And that helped me. I was able to detach. I thought, what's my takeaway? And my takeaway is just gonna make sure that if I have a situation where I start to take something personally, I'm going to make sure I don't respond, that I don't have a reaction because
hmm.
I've taken something personally that might not have been about me, that I actually made about myself. So in
Yeah,
this situation, this employee can think, that was really awful what I went through. Or what I can do to make sure that if any of my colleagues are going through something similar, that they receive support that can help.
yeah. I also think as you're talking, and you had said the business must go on, and I remember feeling after my dad died and my mom, you know, you go through that initial shock and grief, and then everybody stops calling and everybody goes on with their life and work has to get done. And you're still in this place of like, my life has stopped for a moment and everyone else is going on, like nothing's happened. And here I am still stuck in this place of what am I going to do without this loved one? And I think time, like you said, would be the solution to that is just be in that place for a little while and don't look at the boss, like
Right.
you
Yeah.
interact with
Yeah.
her as little as you
And
need to
yes. Yeah.
and you have that natural grief process that goes that might take a long, long time, but um people will move on and we just do it slower when we're grieving.
Yes. And so back to how do I interact with this person who I'm just
Yeah.
like loathing? I think
Hmm.
what's interesting too is that we can think about, I understand this person now.
Hmm.
And in order to interact effectively with her, I just have to be all business.
Yeah.
So in this short period of time, this hour-long meeting, this 15-minute interaction, I am business.
Hmm.
I can be otherwise outside of that interaction with her. But what's best for me is to know I'm in business mode with her. I don't
Hmm.
have to be in business mode all the time, but with her, that's what's best for me is to be in
Yeah.
business mode.
Stay professional
Right.
and
Yep.
move on.
Yeah. She's not your friend. She's never
Hmm.
going to be your friend.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, I was thinking, so this experience was terrible. And it could also be that you start to think, again, this was a terrible experience for me. I'm sure there's been others in our college that have experienced something different. What would it look like to start a grief support group
Hmm.
so that everyone who's in a grieving situation has an opportunity to connect in a support group setting? And then
Yeah.
that way, it's not that the boss made the worst days of my life even more terrible. It is, I had a terrible boss, which then led me to think, what can I do for others? And we
Hmm.
started a grieving support group meeting.
Yeah. Or even a caregiving
Yeah,
department, like
yeah,
I know you've been
yeah,
trying to
yeah, yeah.
do for years. Yeah, looking at like this is my experience and how can we avoid this? And if there is an HR department, talking to them about your experience and you know, HR is very helpful, but they are the company's representative. They are,
Yes,
and
yes,
you have to know that going in.
yes,
Um, but they can be very helpful when it comes to needing to take time off, interactions, mediating, if it's just got to a situation where she really couldn't talk to her and they needed to mediate something. Um, so yeah, I think we have a lot of good strategies here.
yes. And it also is just to another reminder, which you talked about, is that timing is important.
Hmm.
You might want to give yourself time before you reach out, for instance, if you're an employee to HR to ask about, this didn't go well with my boss. What could I have done differently?
Yeah.
Or this didn't go well with my boss, and I'd love to start a grief support group. How could I do that? This
Hmm.
might be something that you think about but don't actually do. until the day where you feel like, you know what, I'm calm enough to talk about this. I think I can do it today.
Yeah, I think that's very smart.
Okay, I think today we'll just do one question.
Okay.
And we have another question, but that will take forever. So
A
so that's our teaser.
loaded one.
That's our teaser to look for our April episode. And
Yeah.
to actually sit down with coffee, a snack,
Mhm.
because it's going to be forever.
Yeah.
And it is something that we all relate to, something that will happen to those we care about and perhaps to ourselves.
Mhm.
And what can we do? So that's my teaser
Mm.
for next month's episode.
All right.
And if you ever want to join us live, you are welcome to be our audience. So we do this typically on the first Friday of the month, unless there's a holiday. Sometimes we adjust for holidays. First Friday of the month at noon Eastern time. And you could register to join us at caringourway.com. That's our community. And it's easy to register. If you have a question and you think, I just am not sure what to do, email us and we'll be happy to come up with some ideas. And you can email us at questions@caringourway.com. On that first Friday, if something happens in the morning, you think, uh-oh, what do I do? You can join us live and your question will become the priority. We'll work with you. We'll give you some insights and suggestions. I think it's just awful to be in a situation where you think, I don't know what to do. I
Yeah.
don't know what to do.
Yeah.
We'll help you figure out what to do. And actually, I'm just going to give one last promo for some special workshops we have planned in March. It's a series and it's called March into Mastery. I did not think of that. Claude, my AI tool, thought of that for me. I wanted to call it March Madness because I love basketball, and this is when the NCAA basketball
Right.
tournaments are. And he was like, "But I don't know if you can really use that term." So he said, "How about, how
Good old
about?"
Claude for the win.
Sometimes Claude elevates me with accolades, and I think I am flying high. And then sometimes he just bursts my bubble, and that
Oh,
was a bursted bubble. But I'm happy with what we came up with instead. We're doing a series of workshops. Some of those are master classes that have been part of our training material for years, and I just re-record them, update them. So that's what we're doing with some of them. And some of them are new material that will go into our training material, training program, and you can experience it live when you join me for these workshops. And one of them is coaching through caregiving uncertainty,
mhm.
because uncertainty during caregiving is the constant.
That's the truth.
Yes. So how can certified caregiving consultants coach family caregivers through uncertainty? If you're a family caregiver, this will be helpful because you'll gain insights that can help you with coaching yourself. And if you're thinking about, for instance, starting a caregiving coaching business, you'll want to join for that because you'll gain insights into what our training program can do for you, which is really equip you with strategies and solutions that make a difference. Just before we did our session, our episode today, I had a session with a new client, and she is pro bono. One of the great things is I can connect her to a student in our certified caregiving consultant program because the students are required to have pro bono hours. So I was with the client plus Amethyst Rose. She's our CCC in training, and then the client. And we were able to use the everyday function scale with the client. And the everyday function scale gives insights into a care's functional level. And then from that, we're able to really develop care solutions to care challenges. So I led the first session, and then Amethyst Rose and the client will continue to meet, and it's pro bono. So the family caregiver benefits and the CCC and training benefits because she meets her certification requirements. So it's all good. And if that's helpful for you, stop by caringourway.com. You can reach out to me and let me know, I need help. I'd like pro bono help. And I'll connect you to a student in training. Okay, there we
Nice.
go. That is it. That is all our work for today. Our work here is done.
Yes.
Jennifer, for our viewers and listeners who'd like to be in touch with you, what's your website address?
That's just my name, jenniferritchie.com.
And Jennifer has complimentary coaching sessions as well. You can schedule a free session with Jennifer to talk out your needs, what you'd like to resolve. Jennifer will help you figure out next steps, and then she'll share how you can continue working with her.
Yes.
Okay, thanks everybody for watching and listening. Thanks, Jennifer, for your wisdom. And I am going to
You.
call you very mature. You have.
Ah, that's funny.
It's what we all aspire to be. Have maturity. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.